Good morning children, how are you all? I hope you all are fine and safe at your places. Myself, Ms. Surabhi Sharma from Shivjyoti Educational Group, Kota. So children, as you all know, today we are going to start with the next chapter, that is chapter 6 of history, towns, traders and craftsperson. So let's start with the chapter. Yes, so let's start with the chapter. Now the chapter name is towns, traders and craftsperson. Now what you all are getting from the topic itself? Towns. See, in the medieval history, right now in 7th class what you are reading? You are reading about the medieval time period. Okay, so in medieval time period what was there? Big villages, okay, big areas were divided into small towns. Okay, so basically if we talk about the towns, in those times towns were divided into 3 parts. Okay, first one was temple towns, second commercial towns, and the third one was administrative towns. Okay, so the people or the kings in those times, they divided towns in the on the basis of 3 factors. But some towns were there which was not divided in such parts, like they were the bundle of all 3 factors, like all 3 factors were included in those towns only, like they were the temple towns also, they were the commercial towns also and they were the administrative towns also. Now let me tell you what was temple towns. What were temple towns? See, temple towns, like in those days, the towns which were known because of some or the other temple, like I can give you example of Vrindavan, Mathura. Okay, whenever someone takes name of Vrindavan or Mathura, what comes in your mind? All the temples of Lord Krishna. Okay, so in such way only temple towns were the places, okay, in which some of the other temples were being famous in those times. Okay, now commercial towns were the towns in which the trading through which the trading was done. Okay, all the traders used to come at visit commercial towns. They used to sell their products or they used to buy the products. Okay, so basically commercial town was specialized in the trading purposes. Third one was administrative towns through which all the other towns were being managed, okay, financially or in other senses also, through which the other towns were already being managed. Okay, so these were the factors on which the towns were divided. But in this chapter we are going to read about Thanjavur. Thanjavur was a mixture of all 3 towns, like Thanjavur was the temple town also, commercial town also and administrative town also. Okay, now if we talk about the traders, now what you are getting from the traders? Who are the traders? Those who buy and sell the products. Now from where these traders were getting the things for selling? Okay, they were getting the things from the craftsperson. Okay, so craftsperson were the ones who were producing the things, who like pottery and all, goldsmiths were there, carpenters were there. They were making different items and they were giving to the traders for reselling those items where? In the towns. Okay, so I hope you all got the link between towns, traders and craftsperson, how these 3 are interconnected. Okay children, so this was the brief intro about the chapter. Now let's start with the chapter. Our first topic is administrative centers. Okay, administrative centers. Now see, administrative centers, I have told you right now what were administrative centers. In this administrative centers we are going to take example of Thanjavur. Okay, we are going to take example of Thanjavur. Okay, Thanjavur was the capital of Cholas. Okay, now in this I will tell you how Thanjavur was an administrative town, how Thanjavur was a commercial town and how it was a temple town also. Okay, so Thanjavur was the capital of Cholas. Okay, perennial river Kaveri passes from here. Okay, perennial means the one which flows throughout the year. Okay, it doesn't get dried up. Okay, so perennial river Kaveri flows from here. Okay, now King Raja Chola, okay, he built one temple. If you remember, we have read about this temple in the last chapter. In the previous chapter we have read about Raja Chola. He built temple Raja Rajeshwara. Okay, he built temple Raja Rajeshwara. Okay, so see, the people of Thanjavur used to praise King Raja. Why? Because what he has done, he has carved out his name on the walls of the temple. Okay, इसने अपना temple walls के अंदर इसने अपना पूरा नाम अच्छे से like उसको बहुत अलग innovative way में लिखवाया था. That is why it was like very famous. This temple was very famous in those times. Okay, so he built temple Raja Rajeshwara. Beside this temple, Raja Rajeshwara temple, a massive शिवलिंग इज देयर. ओके, लाइक मैसिव, बहुत बड़ा एक शिवलिंग है इस टेम्पल के अंदर. ओके, सो right now what we have covered only the temple of Thanjavur. Okay, why Thanjavur was famous? Because of this temple. So from this you will get it, Thanjavur was a temple town. Okay, now let me tell you how Thanjavur was a commercial town. Okay, now how Thanjavur was a commercial town. See, different traders were there who were coming to Thanjavur and selling out their products. Capital of Cholas. Okay, see, like Saliyar. Okay, Saliyar were the group of weavers who were weaving the cotton. Okay, who were making the cloth and selling it out. Okay, and various goldsmith, blacksmith, okay, carpenters were there. Okay, and different artisans and all, they were there. Potters were there. They were making the things and they were selling it out in the different towns of Thanjavur. Okay, so this is how Saliyars were the group of weavers. This is how Thanjavur was the commercial town also. Okay, now and different traders who were there from other countries, okay, from other areas, okay, they were coming to Thanjavur and they were selling their spices, okay, or they were selling the grains, okay, and other craft products they were selling in the Thanjavur. This is how the Thanjavur was a commercial town also. Now see, commercial towns, temple town, I have explained you in context of Thanjavur. Now how Thanjavur was the administrative town. Okay, see, all the buying and selling of the products, okay, each and every small thing which was there in Thanjavur, no matter it is related to temples, okay, construction of temples were also there. Okay, so maybe they have to spend the money. Okay, buying and selling of products were there, so maybe they have to spend the money and they will get the money. So all the financial transaction and whatever changes they want in their area, they want in Thanjavur. Who used to manage that? The administrative centers. Okay, so people were there, a group of people was there who used to manage these kind of things also. Okay, so all the buying and selling of things and all the other factors in the upbringing of this town Thanjavur was managed by the administrative centers also. So this is how Thanjavur was also an administrative center, administrative town. Okay, I hope you all got it, how Thanjavur was a temple town, commercial town, and how Thanjavur was a administrative town. Okay, so Thanjavur was a mixture of all the three towns. Okay children, now next topic is temple towns and pilgrimage centers. Now let me tell you what are pilgrimage centers. Tirth Sthan, okay, pilgrimage centers yani Tirth Sthan. Okay, I have explained you about the temple towns. What are temple towns? Okay, the place, the areas in those in the medieval history, the towns in the medieval history, which was being known for the temples, okay, which were being known for the temple, okay. So that those towns were known as temple towns, where people used to visit in these towns just for seeing the temple, just for visiting the temple, okay. So those were the temple towns, okay. Temple towns we have already learned, I have already explained you. Now let's see what are pilgrimage centers, okay. Pilgrimage centers I will be explaining you through the digiboard. So we were talking about the pilgrimage centers. I have explained you pilgrimage yani Tirth Sthan, okay. So how in those times pilgrimage centers were there? See, Thanjavur temple, okay, I have told you about the Thanjavur temple of Shiv, Lord Shiva is there, okay. So there were places with mandapas or pavilions. Mandapas, you can see these are the mandapas. What happened in these, kings used to hold the court. Whenever some issue is there or he wants to pass some order, he used to meet up with the people of his kingdom of Thanjavur in these mandapas, okay. Second one, kings held court in these mandapas, I have already explained you. Then third, issued order to their subordinates, okay, like the people who were managing the administrative centers, the people who were managing the temples, commercial centers, okay. So different responsibilities were given by the king to different people. So whenever king wants to order something or issue some orders to them, okay, what he do? He used to call them in this mandapas and take a meeting. Then the last one, barracks were also there for the army, okay. Barracks yani a group of buildings in which soldiers used to live, okay. So separate group of buildings were formed by the king in those days for the soldiers. So this was all about your pilgrimage centers. Yes, now metal crafts under Cholas, okay. See, Cholas are well known for their bronze images, okay. We have read this in chapter, yes, in which chapter? In chapter number 4 we have read about this, okay. So Cholas were well known for their bronze images, okay. So bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. Bell metal contained a greater proportion of tin than bronze, okay. Bell metal, the one which was they were making these images and bells which we hang in the temples, they were making this for the temple of Thanjavur, okay. It produces a bell like sound, you all understand this point, bell like sound, okay. The one which is there, which is hanged in the temples, okay. Chola bronze statues made by lost wax technique. Now what do you all understand by the lost wax technique? Okay, you can see this image. Now how this statue is being made by the Cholas. See what they used to do, they used to make this statue of wax. First of all they will make the statue of wax, same statue, then they will cover that statue with the clay, okay. They will cover that statue, wax statue with the clay. When the clay gets dried up, वो पूरा सूख जाएगा, it will take the shape of that wax statue only. What they do, they used to heat it up, okay. They make one hole in the clay outside, okay. They used to heat it up, and when it gets heated up, the wax from inside it gets flow out, okay. वो wax पूरा अंदर से बाहर निकल जाता था, okay. It melts down and flows out, okay. So you can imagine only the clay statue remains. Now what they used to do, they used to prepare this mixture of copper and tin, okay, and they used to pour that mixture in that clay from the same hole, okay. Are you getting it? You can they used to pour that mixture from the same hole, and when it gets solidifies, they used to remove that clay cover, okay. They used to remove that clay cover from the outside, and this is how bronze statues were made in those times. They used to polish it and a fine statue of bronze comes out, okay. That was lost wax technique, okay. I hope you all got it, what was lost wax technique. Yes, now trade and towns, okay. Trade and towns, how trade you all understand, okay, buying and selling of the things. Now how that was managed in the towns of Thanjavur. 18th century subcontinent witnessed emergence of several small towns. I have explained you, a big area was there which was being divided into several small towns by the people of Thanjavur, okay, the king of Thanjavur who was ruling on that particular area. Okay, emergence of several small towns from large villages. Okay, towns had a mandapika or mandi where they used to bring the produce from other areas, different areas, and they used to sold those items in the mandi. Okay, villagers brought their produce to sell in mandi. Okay, villagers, like they were bringing whatever they used to produce, no matter grains, it could be fruits, vegetables, or other artisanal products, it could be, they used to produce those things and they comes to mandi to sell those products. Okay, towns had market streets called hart with shops. Hart, yes, hart, it was a local marketplace where people used to come from different villages and sell out their things. Okay, now other factors were streets of town inhabited by following artisans. Okay, potters were there, oil pressers. These oil pressers used to take out the oil from the nuts, from the plants. Okay, sugar makers, toddy makers were the ones who used to make alcohol using dates, using different plants. Okay, smiths were there and stone masons were there. Like stone masons, you all know, okay, by using stones they used to prepare different structures and different statues. Okay, as you all know, administrative centers, temple towns and pilgrimage centers, metal crafts and the cholas. In this we have talked about the lost wax technique. Trade and towns. Now the next topic which we are going to cover is traders and guilds. Okay, now if we talk about the guilds is an association of merchants. Okay, association of merchants or crafts person. Okay, traders, okay, the one who is selling the different items. Okay, so in those time in medieval history, who were the most important traders? Banjaras. Okay, Banjaras were the most important traders. They used to move with their goods, whatever they were producing, they used to move with their goods in different towns and they were selling those items. Okay, and this was the only way through which they were earning their livelihood, through which they were earning the money. Okay, now beside Banjaras, Chetiyars were there. Okay, Chetiyars were there. Okay, now they were the ones who were dealing with the textile. Okay, Chetiyars were the one who were dealing with the textiles. Okay, now Marwari Brahmans were there. Okay, Marwari, they were dealing in some of the other things. In this way, these several groups of traders were there who used to deal in the different items. And in those time, guilds, I have explained to you, association of merchants it was. In those time, two most famous groups came out. They were Nana Desi and Mani Gramam. Okay. Now what these traders and these group of guilds used to do, they used to, like, some of them used to bring spices, some of them used to bring grains, okay, or fruits or vegetables, artisanal products. Okay, so basically I have already explained you about this. Okay, they used to trade in those items, and sometimes what like when they came to know that the people from other countries like Portuguese and Dutch, they were visiting these towns, okay, for the temple visit or for the other things, when they were visiting, they used to sell them their production, and they used to take gold from them. Okay, they used to take gold or ivory from them. Okay, so this was like barter system, you can say. They were giving their production and they were taking gold from them. Okay, so this is how they started including the people from other countries. They started including the Portuguese, the Dutch in their trading purposes, and this is where they did a mistake. Okay, this was the beginning of like how East India Company, how Portuguese, Dutch, Britishers came to India and start ruling over India. So this was the starting. So starting with the next topic, that is crafts in towns. Okay, see, craft person of Bidar that is there in Karnataka, were very popular for inlay work in copper and silver known as Bidri. Okay, this work which was done by the craft person was known as Bidri. Okay, Panchalas of Vishwakarma community consisted of goldsmith, masons and carpenters. Okay, See, different communities were there, like Panchalas and Vishwakarma, and other than these also some various communities were there, those who were dealing with the different things, okay. But they were being very famous, they were specialized in these things, that's why their name has been mentioned in our book. Made donations to temples. Who? These goldsmiths, masons, carpenters, they used to make donations. Now they were not doing the donations by their own, but the people, the head in that particular area, in that particular town, used to ask for the taxes. So those taxes were collected from them in the way of donation in the temples, okay, like they used to donate the money for the temples, okay. So this is how crafts in towns were there, how people used to make different things, very innovative things, and how they used to make donations to the temples, okay children. Now 3 case studies are there of different places, like Hampi is there, Surat is there, and Masulipattnam is there. Masulipattnam also known as Machlipattnam, okay. So Hampi is located in Krishna Tungabhadra basin, okay. Krishna Tungabhadra basin, this is river which passes through Karnataka, okay. Architecture of Hampi was distinctive. How it was distinctive? See, no cement was used, nothing was used. The bricks were there, na, that bricks were like somewhat like this, okay, and this, okay. So these bricks gets interlocked, okay. So no cementing, nothing was used to fix them up. This interlocking technique was used in the walls of Hampi, like whatever were constructed, that was constructed in such a way, okay. Moors and Chetis controlled market of Hampi. Moors, okay, Muslim community, Muslim merchants were there, okay. They used to control the market of Hampi, okay, like they were the ones who were having the monopoly, like whatever will be sold by us only, okay. So they have controlled the markets of Hampi. But as the Britishers, as the Portuguese, Dutch started having capturing the Hampi, market of Hampi, they started coming to Hampi. What happened? The market of Hampi started declining. Why? Because few communities were there of Hampi, like these trading communities only, they took the advantage of them and they started diverting them to some other places. Why they were diverting? Because they knew, those traders knew that in the markets of Hampi only Moors and Chetis will be ruling. So to have their own market, so to have their own profit, they started diverting them to some other places. So that is how Hampi started declining. Next was Surat. You all must be aware of Surat, important trading center on western coast, okay, now also, okay, but it is famous from the medieval period. Hub of textile industry, that means the textile of Surat, and most importantly gold lace border, that is zari border, was very famous in those times. Textiles of Surat were in great demand, in the other countries, out of India also it was very famous. But as the Mughal Empire started declining, okay, जैसे ही Mughal Empire decline होने लगा, in the same way Surat, the market of Surat also started declining. So market of Hampi was also declined and market of Surat was also declined, okay. So the traders who were coming to these places for the trading purposes or for buying some other things, okay, and even the people from other countries, they started diverting their control towards the markets of Mumbai, okay. So after Hampi and Surat and Masulipattnam, they all get their trading activities, they all started their trading activities in Mumbai. Now let me tell you about the Masulipattnam also. Yes, the last case study, that is of Masulipattnam, also known as Machlipattnam, okay. So literal meaning of Masulipattnam or Machlipattnam is fish port town, city located on the delta of the Krishna river, again Krishna river that passes through the Karnataka. 17th century witnessed intensive trade activities as the people from other countries, Portuguese, Dutch, started visiting here, okay. Dutch and English East India companies tried to dominate Masulipattnam due to its port on the Andhra coast. Dutch built a fort at Masulipattnam. Why they built a port? So that before anyone else could get capture over Masulipattnam, they built their port so that only their control will be there on Masulipattnam. Now Dutch built their fort. Okay. Now see, severe competition was there among Golconda nobles, Persian merchants, Telugu Komti Chettis and European traders. Okay. Trade activities made city populous and prosperous. Okay. But what happened? See, in all the fights, what will happen? Masulipatam will also get declined. Okay. Annexation of Golconda, Mughals attempted to extend their power to Golconda, provided provincial governor Mir Jumla played off Dutch and the English against each other. Now what governor Mir Jumla did? He like भड़काना, उन्होंने डच को इंग्लिश ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी के अगेंस्ट भड़का दिया और इंग्लिश ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी को डच के अगेंस्ट दे पुट इन देयर माइंड्स ऑल द नेगेटिव थिंग्स. 1686 and 1687 Golconda annexed by Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. Now see, this is how when all the cures started, when each and every all the fights started, what happened? The Masulipatam, like in the same way Hampi and Surat declined, in the same way Masulipatam also started declining. Mir Jumla interplayed different European companies. Okay. Okay, Mir Jumla interplayed different European companies, forced companies to look for alternatives for better trade opportunities. Okay, alternatives like to move to some other places. Mumbai, I have told you before. Masulipatam had a limitation of being a production center only. Okay, European companies looked for trade centers having political, administrative and commercial roles. Okay, so now Masulipatam was dealing only with the production. See, so much of fights and all was there between the people. So the one who were buying and those who were trading, they started moving to some other places. Okay, so European companies, what they wanted, they want trade center from where they can have political, administrative and all the commercial roles, like they can have total power over that particular places. And if we talk about Masulipatam, many people were there, many groups were there who were fighting to have control over the market of Masulipatam. And what European companies want? They want their monopoly. They want कि हमारे अलावा उस particular जगह पे किसी का भी role ना हो. Trade activities shifted to Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. Masulipatam lost its trade importance and thus declined. Why it lost its trade importance? Because of Mir Jumla. Okay, उसने तो अपने फायदे के लिए इन लोगों को एक दूसरे के अगेंस्ट माइंड में नेगेटिव थॉट्स डाले. But what happened? Because of this action, Masulipatam started declining. Okay, traders and towns. European countries searched for spices and textiles to be imported to Europe and West Asia. So the spices, especially spices of India, became famous in the European countries. Okay, they started using these Indian spices in their food. Okay, so see, the competition, main competition who were there from outside India were between Dutch, French and English. Okay. So the last topic, that was new towns and traders. Okay. Now English, Dutch and French expanded commercial activities in the east. Indian traders Mullah Abdul Ghaffar and Virji Vora competed with European powers. Why? Because Abdul and Virji Vora, he don't want कि कोई बाहर से other countries have captured over their market. Okay. So they owned large number of ships. European companies used naval power to gain control of the sea trade. Okay. See, why they competed against European powers? Who? Mullah Abdul Ghaffar and Virji Vora. Like on what basis they started taking step against English East India Company? Because they were having a large number of ships. So they thought that somewhere we are powerful and we can fight for our benefits with European powers. Like हम खुद के फायदे के लिए, खुद को बचाने के लिए, अपना मार्केट बचाने के लिए हम ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी से लड़ सकते हैं. But they were wrong. Okay, European companies, they use their naval power. Okay, all their military, all their navy, they use each and every power and they gain control over the sea trade. Forced Indian traders to work as their agents. English emerged as most successful commercial and political power in the subcontinent, and this is how English East India Company, the Britishers, they started having control over the markets of India. Okay, so this is how the wrong steps of Mughals spoiled everything, and this is how the East India Company, the Britishers, Dutch, Portuguese, they gained control over the Indian markets. Now children, take out your books and mark the internal questions. Mark first internal question on page number 76. Open page number 76. Okay. Write down the question there. Why rulers built temples? Okay. Why rulers built temples? Okay, children. You can mark the answer. Last paragraph, temple, towns and pilgrimage centers. Okay. Last fifth line. Last fifth line. Your answer will be rulers built temples to demonstrate their devotion to various deities. Okay. From rulers till various deities your answer will be. Okay. Have you all written why rulers built temples? Now next question you have to write, name the famous guilds. Name the famous guilds from 8th century onwards. Name the famous guilds from 8th century onwards. Page number 80 you will find. In the first paragraph only, second line you will find the answer, Nana Desi and Manigramam. Page number 80. Nana Desi and Manigramam. Okay children, have you all written? Now third question, which was the most important festival celebrated at Hampi? Page number 83. Which was the most important festival celebrated at Hampi? Open page number 83. Mahanavami. Last paragraph you will find Mahanavami. Okay. Last paragraph, 6th line. Last paragraph, 6th line. The Mahanavami festival, known today as Navratri in South, was one of the most important festivals celebrated in Hampi. So from the Mahanavami till Hampi is your answer. I am again repeating the question, which was the most important festival celebrated at Hampi? Now the last question, okay. Now the last question, open page number 82. Page number 82. Write down the question there, where is Hampi located? Where is Hampi located? Page number 82. Where is Hampi located? First line, the architectural splendor of Hampi mein. First line, Hampi is located in the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. First line, Hampi is located in the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. I hope you all got each and every topic very well. Mark all the internal questions very properly. Okay, so this was all for today. Thank you.